if you've got your matrix equation down okay, then I just mainly want to set these things up. I'm not going to do these on the calculator here, okay? So what this problem says, it says the parking fees at the zoo are $5 for local residents, and that's there's two key things here, and then it's $7.50 for all others. So it says at the end of the day, they kind of have a table. This is like day one, this is the amount of money they made, and so forth. Day two, there was 1,550 cars parked, and that was the receipts and so forth like that. So first thing is, when you set these kind of things up, you always want to look at the question, because the question will tell you what the unknowns are. Generally, it says, how many vehicles in each category? When I see that, that tells me what the unknowns are. So let's identify that. What I want you to write down is X1 is just going to be the number of vehicles. We'll just say the number of vehicles for local residents, or we can just say local vehicles. Okay, that's what that is. Okay, and then X2 would be the other type, which just says all the other ones, which I guess would be the ones that are not local. So that would be the number of non-local vehicles like that. All right, and then we're going to set up sort of a system of equations. The system of equations on this one's pretty simple. What you would say, first of all, is this would add up. So your system, X1 and X2, is going to add up to some number. Now, I'm going to do like what they do kind of in your book, and I'm going to say K1. And that K1 is given in the table. So on day one, the number of vehicles are going to add up to 1,200. On day two, that's going to be 1,550 and so forth. So I'm writing that as a variable, and then I would have to solve different systems of equations to get the answer for each part, okay? Mainly what I want to do is just set up the system on here and then kind of explain what you would do on this problem to get the answers without taking the time on the calculator. Now, the other thing is it said the local vehicles, $5 for each one, $7.50 for others. So the second equation would just be $5 X1 plus, and then $7.50 was for the non-local vehicles. Then I'll call that K2. So the two equations, what they mean is this is just telling you the total number of vehicles. This is telling you how much money you're making. $5 per local vehicle, $7.50 for the other. Does that make sense to you? Okay, because you got the two unknowns are that, and then that's your system. Now what we're going to do on this, I'm not going to go through and do every one of these. It just takes too much time. But what I would want you to do first of all is let's just kind of look at what would happen on day one. So on day one, you would end up solving the system X1 plus X2 equals 1,200. So if you look at day one, it said there were 1,200 vehicles parked. And then you would do 5X1 plus 7.5X2. If you look at the chart I gave you, you're making $7,125 off of that. Now, you can do that in any of the different ways I've taught you. Graphing, substitution, elimination, reduced echelon form, or matrix equation. But by now, what do you think is the easiest one to do out of all these things I've taught you? Don't you think reduced row echelon form's the easiest, okay? Because if you do the matrix equation, you might have a singular matrix, and then you got to go to the reduced echelon form anyway. So you could do it that way. And the answer on this, I'm just going to have you write the answer on this. What would end up happening is if you, and I'm going to pull this down. I just took this out of the book because I thought it was a pretty good problem on this. If you did this, you would just get... for reduced row echelon form, you would have 1, 0, 750, and then 0, 1, 450. So what does that mean? That just means this is the number of local cars, and then that's the number of the non-local like that. And you would just repeat that for each day, okay? I just want to show you really one of those and kind of how that works. So if you understand day one, day 2, 3, and 4 are all done exactly the same way, okay? So the other thing I want to do is I do want to do part B on here, and I just want to do one part of this. So the question is, if 1,200 vehicles are parked in one day, is it possible to make $5,000? Okay, well, let's take a look at what this system would be. The system would be x1 plus x2 equals 1,200, because that's the total number of vehicles. Then the second equation would be this. It would be 5x1, because that costs $5 per ticket. And then it would be 7.5x2, and then that's equal to, it says 5,000. Now let's go ahead and put this in the calculator and just crunch this one out. Just put that in reduced row echelon form on your calculator, and let's see what happens on this. Okay, because we've done a bunch of matrices things, so I don't want to take all the time doing that now. So let's just put it in a matrix. That's going to be what, a 2 by 3. I just kind of have different matrices set up for different sizes here. So just get you a 2 by 3 set up, and we'll put it in and do row echelon form and see what happens here. So your matrix would just be, the first row would be 1, 1, 1,200. That's you have 1,200 vehicles. And then the second row would be 5x1, 7.5, and then the receipts taken in on that are $5,000. What am I doing? Sometimes this thing doesn't behave. Okay, so 5, 7.5, and then 5,000. Okay, let's just do row echelon form. Let's see what happens on that. Because the question is this possible or not? That's the idea. So I'm going to go to math. I'm going to go down to the RREF, and we'll put in that matrix. I put that one in. On my calculator, I put that in C, I think. So let's see what it gets. Okay, so if you're doing this, tell me if you're getting this. I'm getting 1, 0, 1,600, and then 0, 1, negative 400. What do you think about that? Is that possible? How come it's not possible? I mean, that does have a solution. That system of equation has a solution. What makes this not have a solution? That negative number, exactly. That's nonsense. Because what this is saying is it's saying x2 is negative 400, and that was non-local cars, right? That doesn't make any sense. You can't have negative cars. So in the context of this problem, it makes no sense. So this would not be possible. Does that make sense to everybody? The solution, that system has a solution. It just doesn't make any sense in the context of the problem. All right. Any questions on that? Does everybody feel okay with what I just did? Okay, because we're going to do a lot of these word problems where you're setting up matrices. You want to be able to solve problems and let your calculator do the kind of the dirty work for you, okay, on these, all right? Okay, so we'll